Hello everybody, it's me, Nate, aka Devil Dog, and I'm back with a new walkthrough for the Orbonne Monastery. This is a complete walkthrough for all the boss battles in this epic level 70 24-man raid, which was just released on the Stormblood patch 4.5. It has a minimum item level 365 to enter, drops 390 level gear, and a rare minion. Good luck to you all! Your first boss battle of this 24 epic man raid will be against Stadio. He is a nice, badass transforming robot, and he has several mechanics you will have to pay close attention to during this epic battle. First up will be a move known as Energy Burst. As you see, it will be a room-wide AoE, no way to avoid it, just heal through it to get through the battle. And the other move he'll cast quite often is Arm Shot. Well, he will target a tank, and it is the typical tank buster attack. His next main mechanic move you have to pay close attention to is Right Hand Gun. And a whole right-sided area of him will be covered in a large conal AoE. So it's best to be directly right underneath him or to his side behind him to where you can actually get to his left side to avoid taking damage. Now, the other version of it is called Left Hand Gun, and it's basically going to be on his left side, so you want to get to his right side or slightly below him, so you're close enough to get out of the way from the attack, because it will take up pretty much the whole damn area of battle. His next main mechanic is known as Maintenance, where he will go to the center of the arena and tether to the machines around the area. So now if he tethers to any of the guys on the outside, they will shoot a line AoE straight in front of them. Now pay close attention because there are multiple of them all the way around the arena, so they can crisscross and make it rather difficult. Now, if he targets one of the robots that's on the inside of the arena, they will have a rather large square AoE you will have to dodge. Now, as the battle progresses, he will actually cast more and more of these robots alive with his maintenance move, so you'll have to make sure to stand in the correct area to avoid the line attacks from the ones on the outside and the square attack AoEs from the enemies on the inside. Next up is a move that I said I'm going to call I See You. And it's where he will place AoE circles on certain players that will track them and follow them, and you'll want to lead them out to the outside of the arena before they actually pick a spot and explode. They're not that hard to really survive from. His other main mechanic is what you've seen in the preview. It's known as Analysis. He will go to the outside area and pull out his sniper rifle, and everybody will have a little icon circle on them with one gap that is open. The trick to surviving this is face it to where the open part of the circle underneath your character is facing towards the boss. You will still take massive damage, but you won't die as a one-shot kill and when he fires his sniper round. He will do this multiple times throughout the battle. Just pay attention to face the open spot of the circle underneath you towards the boss for you to survive this move. The next move he'll do is known as Leg Shot, where he pretty much will send a blast out that will drop mines. All you want to do is avoid the mines. Don't get near them. It's pretty much one of the easiest moves to avoid. His final main mechanic is known as Ballistic Missile, where he will target players with an icon over their head in AoE rings. You just want to spread out and make sure they don't overlap in order to survive. Now, as the battle progresses, he will start stacking these different attacks and going faster and faster with them. But as long as you pay close attention to what they are and how to survive them, you should be able to beat Stadio rather easy and get on to your second boss. Your second boss battle is against Agrius. I don't know if I say his name not right, but he has a ton of mechanics you have to pay close attention to survive this fight. His first move he'll do is known as Divine Light, and it's basically your standard issue room-wide AoE, just heal through it. Throughout the battle, he'll cast a move known as Thunder Slash. That is your basic tank buster, so just heal the tank as they eat the damage and they'll be fine. Next up will be a move known as Judgement Blade, where these shield circle icons will appear on the map, and what you want to do is stand in the circle and you'll hit your R3 button or whatever button it tells you at the right time to avoid the blast of the attack. Be facing the enemy and press the button at the right time to avoid taking damage. The next move that he'll use is known as Cleansing Flame, where an icon will appear over your head, almost like a purple ring around the character. Just spread out around the arena, that way none of them overlap, not to eat too much damage. The next move he'll do is known as Cleansing Strike. This one is a bit interesting. You'll see these blade icons that will appear over certain characters, and it will send these characters into a different area where they have to fight these wraiths, these demons, and some of them will be regular and others will have shields around them. And what you want to do is walk into the little sword icon to summon a special power to be able to go over and use it on the shield wraiths to defeat them. And you want to kill these ghosts as fast as possible because the whole time you all have doom and it's counting down. This is pretty much a DPS check to kill these guys to get out of the room. If not, you will die and it will respawn you back into the normal battle. The next move is known as Consecration, where once again these sword icons will appear around and you want to walk to get these swords. And the reason why is some players will be frozen in place as the boss is charging up her attack known as Northwayne Strike. And you want to use the ability you learned from the sword icons to actually free the area of the players that are stuck before the line attacks happen with Northwayne Strike fully charges, or they'll get killed. Now, the next move that he'll use is known as Hollowed Bolts. Where it'll start off as two giant outer ring donut AoEs you want to avoid by being somewhat in the middle of the arena, followed by two circle AoEs that are in the center. So head towards the center, and then after the ones on the outside go off, head back out to try to avoid being hit by the two that appear in the middle. Now, Holy Blade is pretty much a nice little another DPS check where a bunch of ads will appear. And you'll also have these giant large AoEs that will overlap the arena. Now, you can stand in the shield icons that appear and use them to actually alleviate any of the damage you get from the AoEs going off. Or if you just place yourself correctly, you can eat one of them. Just don't stand in an area where they're both overlapped. And burn down and kill the ads as fast as you can before Holy Blade fully charges, or it'll be an area-wide raid wipe. And the final move you have to deal with this boss is known as Divine Ruination, where you'll see these tethers that attack to certain characters. And I have learned it seems to work best if they space out, while the others will go into the shields that appear and once again use them for protection. As long as you follow these, you should have no problem in beating Agrias and moving on to your next boss battle. Alright, time for Ozma 2.0. This is Count Sidolphus Orlando. This guy has some major ass attacks and most of them aren't even shown. You'll see the name, but you really won't know how to do it unless you pay close attention to this friggin' video. First up is a move known as Cleansing Strike. It'll take all players down to 1 HP and gives them Doom. So you have to heal all of them and also get rid of the Doom before you progress. It's a lot of fun. Next up is a move known as Shadow Blade, where a black and red ring will appear around a player and you'll want to go and place them on one of the outer platforms because they will keep growing and growing, and if they overlap with another one, they will explode and do major damage to the party. Next up is the regular version of Crush Helm, which is basically your standard issue tank buster attack. As you'll see as it charges up here, it'll hit a tank for a good amount of damage. Other than that, that's really the only big deal with it at this particular phase. Alright, next is a move that is a pain in the ass. You'll find it throughout the battle in many different variations. It's known as TG Holy Sword. You have to pay close attention to his placement of his swords, because depending on the location of them is which version of the move he's going to do. If he holds out his right and left arms, that pretty much means he's going to smack the swords down in those arenas, and you want to stay in the out of the area, those particular areas where he's at, to avoid being smashed. The other version of TG Holy Sword is if you pay close attention, he'll stick the swords in the ground. In that case, he's going to do an outer circle slash AoE. You want to get as close to him as possible. And the other version of TG Holy Sword is when he sticks, his arms are up and out. And that's basically when you want to avoid the center ring AoE that he's going to attack. You'll want to move as far away as you can on the outside of the arena as possible. It's the slight variations of the swords that he does that actually means which move he's going to do. Alright, its next mechanic is known as Duskblade, where icons will appear on the area that have the little 3 icons on them. 3 players must stand in each ring, and if you don't have 3 in each of the rings, it will be an area-wide raid wipe. So as long as you have 3 or more people in each ring, you'll be fine. Now at this point in the battle, he'll do a move where he actually takes you to a different arena, where he will make 3 versions of himself known as Ephemeral Knights. Now you'll want to defeat these all before he's casting a move called Swordplay fully charges up, or once again it'll be another raid-wide wipe. This is another DPS check. Now while you're fighting these guys, you'll have to pay close attention to avoid the donut AoEs that appear all over the area, and as you go through they'll also do several other moves to you, and also even have a stacking arrow icon. Once you see the arrow above your head, make sure you have the character stack to mitigate the sort of damage. Burn these 3 guys down as fast as possible before Swordplay fully charges, and you'll be able to survive this move and go back to his normal area. Alright, the final mechanic this guy does is known as Crush Accessory, where he'll place these giant AoEs on the ground with an area that is actually clear. And you'll want to actually place yourself in them, normally splitting apart to where you have like 3 people in each, because there will be an ad that will appear in a certain one of these circles that you'll have to burn down to defeat. As long as you have enough people in each circle, you'll be able to burn down the ad fairly quickly, and it will clear the arena back out, and you can keep going on with the fight. At this point, that's pretty much about all the mechanics this guy has. The main one has to be the TG Holy Sword. That one can be a pain because you have to base what you do on the positioning of what his swords are. Other than that, as the battle progresses, he'll get faster, doing more moves, more shadow blades. He'll like attach more shadow blades to people that you'll have to place throughout the arena so they don't overlap, not to take damage. But the main mechanic with this guy that's the pain is the TG Holy Sword. I see a lot of people dying from this one just from that, because if you don't pay attention to the placement of the swords, you will actually pick the wrong location to actually be in. But as long as you do that and you stick with it, you'll be able to beat Count Sidolphus Orlando and get on to your final battle of this epic 24-man raid. Alright, time for your final battle of this epic 24-man raid is against Ultima, the High Sepra. This motherfucker's got some of the most complicated mechanics you'll deal with. First off, right out of the box, she'll do this throughout the fight is Holy 4. It's basically the average ordinary AoE, you just want to avoid it. Next up will be a move known as Aura Light, where a giant AoE will appear around her and line AoEs will shoot out from her, followed by circle AoEs underneath your characters. And at the same time, it will place purple rings on players that they'll want to place and space out so they don't touch anyone. Yeah, I wish I was kidding. Next up, throughout the battle, she'll use a move known as Grand Cross. As you progress through the story of this mission, she'll do it more and more with more of them. But these big blue ice clusters will slam into the ground, and you have to watch where the little icon shows because they will blast a blue AoE line across the field. As long as you pay attention to them, it takes a long time for them to charge up before they blast. And when they do, you can generally see from the circle that's on them which location they're going to blast to try to find a safe spot to stand. Next up is a move known as Demi Aries, where she casts that water boss from the first one. Best thing to say is just avoid his water tornadoes. Fortunately, it's not that bad, but she does like to contain it and also combine it with other moves while you're doing this. Next up, she'll cast Demi Aries, which will bring the guy and his clock mechanics back. It's very simple. Avoid the clock mechanics by standing on the clock that is moving slowest first. Keep in mind, she'll also put AoEs on players, so you'll have to space the players out who have the AoEs placed over top of them to avoid hitting the other players in this fight. And also pick the slow clock before it goes off. Next up, she'll cast Demi Leo, where basically he brings the guy back that has those towers that was a pain in the ass. Just watch out where he slashes the towers to avoid the damn way they're falling. And once again, while you're avoiding the towers, also avoid the AoEs that she places on the players. Now, as you beat her down, roughly give or take about 50% of her life is left, she will cast all 3 of these guys at once. You'll have to deal with the clocks on the ground, the AoE blasts, the water tornadoes, followed by a major blast, and also AoE markers on all characters, which will cause more AoE attacks, which is a pain in the ass. Now, after that happens, he'll do a super blast move. this is before you're getting to the main part of the game. Super Blast, pretty much there'll be a bubble that you'll want to stay in to survive. Now, throughout this part, you must have the healer's heal, because you will still take damage even if you're in this bubble. You'll have to fight, which is another epic DPS check against Ultima, who's biting a hole through your shield. You have to defeat her before she gets your power down, or you will all wipe. Now, at this point in the fight, you drop down to another area and the fight starts over. She gets all of her life back and you start over. Now, this is where it picks up, though. She'll start doing a move known as Eastward March, where she will place AoE lines on the floor. Now, if it's called an Eastward March, that means that they will move slightly east before blasting, which normally means to the right on your area. So once you see them lay down, expect them to move to the right. So be quick and ready to move. Next up is a move known as Redemption, which will have several ground AoEs over the players. Spread them out as you're going through. And there'll also be some black cluster AoE attacks from the ground as well you'll have to avoid. Now at this point, she'll start casting a move known as Demi Virgo. This has two different versions of it that seem to alternate. The first one is she'll place these circles that have arrows on the ground that will slowly kind of move. You'll want to follow them and stand in the final one to avoid these demons coming down and wiping you from this area. The alternate version is she'll summon these demons that will tether to a character and also place multiple ground AoEs on the ground. That one's not as complicated. Now, her next main mechanic has to be this thing where she places this big maze on the ground underneath you. And you have to move quickly to get through the maze while avoiding AoEs from monsters that are moving around. And if you get a dice icon over your head, stop. Wait for it to run down before you continue through. Once you get up to her through the maze, she will place AoE markers on several characters that you'll want to space out in the area before running back to her into the safe spot and fighting her to complete this section. Now, the only other move that she'll do is a move known as Westward March, which is another line AoE, but these ones will move to the left. Keep in mind, you have Eastward March, where they will move to the right, and Westward March, where they will move to the left. At this point in the battle, there are no more new mechanics you'll have to fight and deal with, but she will start combining them and speeding them up. So you'll have to deal with multiple of these at one damn time. I wish I was kidding. This is a hell of a fight. But if you're able to survive all this nightmare stuff she throws at you, you will beat this epic 24-man raid, hopefully get some sweet, sweet item drops, and be on your way out of here. This was Nate, aka Devil Dog. I want to thank everybody who subscribes to my channel. I want to thank everyone who watches this video. I hope it helps you with this real pain in the ass, epic ass raid. And remember, I always end my videos by saying, have fun, play hard, and remember, people, the devil is in the details. Peace out.